Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Hey, so welcome back. Happy Monday. I want to eat an apple while I'm sitting here talking to you, so my wonderful assistant brought me this stuff. It's like, see, I think she was saying that at one point I was getting too fat, so she had to make me eat good food. My daughter does too. She does that stuff to me all the time. She keeps wanting me to eat healthy. I'm like, that's just overrated. Okay, let's talk about today, shall we? Before we talk about today, I want to play a video. And I saw this video this morning, and it reminded me of my grandfather. Because he was pretty committed. He was a committed guy. And he passed away at 85. So this is kind of a feel-good video that, you guys got that ready? So I'm going to play this for you. Let's go ahead and play it.
I'm Doug across the street over here, right? I live over in that house there.
Okay.
And there's an invite to a party on February 15th.
Okay.
But I didn't want to leave it in the mailbox because when you read
He
it...
gives me this little invitation that literally looks like he used like some sort of like pen to then like make copies of these and give them out to all of our neighbors. And it says, a celebration of winter, February 15th, 4 p.m. until the cops arrive. Until the cops arrive. He's literally 85. It says food and drinks will be there. Only bring a smile. RSVP to his email, and he gave his phone number. Love, Doug.
Yeah, pretty cool. We don't see that anymore. We don't get much of that anymore. It's not a place that you get anybody that just... Now, I throw parties in my neighborhood. All my neighbors are cool. But you don't see it much anymore. And by the way, that was a tribute to his wife that was on the table who had passed away. And it was just his way of connecting the neighborhood. We need to get back to that instead of, the brave people on Twitter and the Kardashian crew that seems to run our government and think that everything is an emergency. I will say this, it kind of is an emergency. Something's going to happen. I feel like something's going to happen. And I put something up on social media, and I was like, I feel like something is about to happen. You got President Trump talking about a bunch of stuff, but more importantly, it just feels like it's going to break free. And Alex Jones, man, he is the king of the crown, the tinfoil crown. Yeah, but he's been right more times. I don't know if he aligned himself with 1984 or not. But a lot of things that he said over the years have definitely come true. And yesterday he put out a special when I was watching the special, and he talks about bringing on Kash Patel. Excuse me, that's not true. Talked about bringing on Kyle Seraphin. And when he was talking about bringing on Kyle Seraphin, he's like, Kyle's gonna... That's your way of saying that there are people around Alex Jones that are like, hey, you probably shouldn't have Kyle Seraphin on, because Kyle Seraphin is just kind of in your face, and they want to keep this kind of cool demeanor, this decorum, right? That doesn't bother them. And he talked about the fact that he almost got grand juried like 12 times. I don't know how many times. It's a lot. And that he got indicted through a grand jury for January 6th. And then they decided, wow, he did tell people not to go. So it's going to be hard to indict him. But it's just, I was watching it and I see the things that are heating up. It reminds me of how much weakness surrounds the strong. And President Trump, I think, is a very strong individual. But the weak people around him in Con Inc. tell people who to talk to and who not to talk to. And my guess is, and I just read people very well, is that somewhere along the line, someone told Alex Jones that, you keep having Kyle Seraphin on. And so he made this kind of, sometimes he says something, I'm like, I don't know if I just want him, he's going to just kind of want the FBI to, And what that is code word for, I need protection. And I'm going to have him on. I mean, someone of importance said, hey, don't let this guy come in and take shots at Kash Patel on your show. Because that's how it works, right? The weak control the strong. I think Alex Jones is also a pretty strong guy. And unfortunately, weak people don't want strong people to rise up. They don't want strong people to have a voice in the community, because when that happens, the weak people lose their stance at every level, So I'm going to talk about a few other things before we bring our guests on, but let's start here. We're in the throes of urban chaos. And this is going to be a pretty explosive show. We're going to dive into the things that reshape America and the world in large part. And we'll talk about what's happening in DC, where Trump has basically taken back over Washington, DC. And there hasn't been a murder in 11 days. Hasn't been a murder in 11 days. And President Trump is challenging institutions in a way that is unheard of, which makes me fear for him. Because again, he's a very strong man. He's surrounded by very weak people. I think Susie Wiles is probably the smartest one and the strongest one around him. Frankly, I was wrong, very wrong. She's kept a very level head about herself over the last 9 months. And it's refreshing, actually, to have someone that doesn't really enjoy the light at all, just wants to kind of push some buttons behind it. She could hate me or not hate me. I don't care. But the reality of it is that she is gone and said, here's what we want to do. She's the chief of staff, and she's done a really good job of trying to protect and feed information to President Trump when needed. You have ATVs and motorcycles running through the Capitol and citizens protesting in the street. This is kind of a unique moment where you have civil engagement, which is probably paid for. Societal tensions collide with this leadership and engagement, and it's neat to see, actually. You say, man, it's just tensions. Maybe. So we're going to have a conversation with James Kunstler. He's an acclaimed urban critic and cultural commentator. He's worked on dissecting America's urban decay and social dysfunction. This should be a really interesting conversation. And then round two, we're going to have Casey back on, who is the car guy. I had a great conversation on the phone with him, and I was like, man, we got to talk again. And we're going to talk again about why it is that a guy as talented and as strong as he is can't find his way in the world of just honing in on using that success. I mean, built a car that gets 150 miles per gallon, and nobody called him. How does that happen? But before we do that, before we talk about our guests anymore, I want to put up this. This is Mark Cook, built this American Declaration of Independence from election manipulation. Something's about to happen. Something is about to happen. People are going to get arrested. And this is kind of a replay of, if you didn't get a chance to read it, I'm going to see if I can put it up in some places. If you guys can drop it on Rumble and other places. But it basically said, we hold our truths to be self-evident that all citizens are endowed by their creator with the right to choose their representatives through elections that are free, fair, simple, transparent, and verifiable by every citizen, regardless of education or means, that the consent of the governed, expressed through their sacred act of voting, is the sole legitimate source of governmental authority. that when any system, technology, or cabal, whether domestic or foreign, subverts this consent through fraud, coercion, complexity, or obfuscation, it is the right and the duty of the people to reject such tyranny and institutional reforms rooted in clarity, accessibility, and public oversight. The integrity of the elections conducted with hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots under the watchful eyes of citizens is the cornerstone of a free republic, and no machine, bureaucracy, or unaccountable actor should stand between the people and their vote. The history of recent election practices in the United States reveals that relentless pattern of abuses, all designed to erode the sanctity of the vote and usurp the will of the people. To prove this, let's facts to be submitted to the candid world. The suppression of eligible voters through purges of registration rolls, intimidation of polling places, miscommunication of voting times and locations, and barriers targeting minorities, the elderly, and non-English speakers, calculated to silence their voices. Creation of fraudulent identities, registration of deceased or fictitious voters with exploitation of lax verification of inject phantom ballots, diluting the will of the legitimate citizens. The manipulation of ballots through stuffing, harvesting, discarding, or altering votes, whether physical or digital, often concealing by broken chains of custody or fabricated emergencies. Tampering with electronic voting systems through hijacking, malware. Oh, geez. Through hijacking, malware, backdoors, and counterfeit equipment, rendering machines untrustworthy and vulnerable to undetected fraud. Coercion and bribery of voters, poll workers and officials, exploiting desperate of greed while complicit law enforcement and judges shield perpetrators from accountability. Misreporting of results through delayed tallies, falsified records, sabotaged audits, and redefined verification process to obscure discrepancies. The infiltration of foreign actors and cyber attacks on voter databases and systems, compromising the sovereignty of our democratic process. Use of dark money, illegal, funded, and fake organizations to tilt campaigns, siphon resources, and mislead citizens from genuine reform efforts. The deployment of disinformation, psychological operations, deep fakes, and media manipulation confuse, demoralize, and mislead voters, sowing division and mistrust. The insider threat from corrupt officials, infiltrated grassroots organizations, and manipulated legal processes, including lawfare, gerrymandering, court stacking to entrench power against the people's will. The systematic exploitation of legal ambiguities, weak oversight, centralized control, and unaccountable technologies created fertile ground for fraud under the guise of efficiency. The reliance of complex electronic voting machines, which obscure the counting process, lack transparency, and expose elections to manipulation, distancing citizens from direct oversight. The centralization of voter registration and election management, removing local control and empowering unaccountable entities to dictate outcomes. The denial of public access to election records, such as cast vote records, and chain of custody documentation under pretext of proprietary concerns, exorbitant fees, and misrepresentation of retention periods. Failure of limited absentee ballots, which without rigorous scrutiny invites fraud through unverified ballots that cannot guarantee secrecy or integrity. In every stage of these oppressions, we have sought redress through petitions, lawsuits, public forums, and tireless advocacy, only to be met with denial, delay, and accusations of undermining democracy. We have proposed reforms to restore trust, such as returning voter registration to county control, limiting absentee ballots, conducting elections on a single day in the small precincts, and counting hand-marked paper ballots under public scrutiny. We have demonstrated through efforts of those of citizens advocating for hand-count elections that simple, transparent methods are not only feasible but essential to reclaiming our electoral process. Yet those in power have dismissed our pleas, obstructed transparency, and clung to systems that obscure the people's will. A system that permits such abuses, that entrusts the vote to opaque machines and unaccountable bureaucracies, is unfit to serve a free nation. We have not been silent in our resolve. We have educated our fellow citizens through work groups, demonstrations, and public audits, exposing scandal like corrupted cast vote records and manipulated voter rolls. We have called for elections to be conducted in small precincts of no more than 1,500 citizens, with paper ballots dropped into translucent containers, counted by hand, and manipulated voter rolls in small precincts 1,500 to counted by high definition video and verified by bipartisan citizens. We have urged counties to reclaim sole custody voter registration, verified in person with witness signatures, and to publish read-only voter list in a universal format to public cross-referencing. We have advocated for limited absentee ballots and those with proven needs, scrutinizing rigorously to prevent fraud, and for designating a single national voting day to eliminate staggered manipulation. Yet these efforts have been met with resistance, bureaucratic inertia, and accusations of mistrust, leaving us no choice but to declare our independence from this corrupted system. Let me just tell you something. The more I read about what Mark Cook just wrote, it brings me down to one thing. And so we're going to talk about that thing today, and that is the degradation of our society. A slow boil to a place where lawlessness becomes the rule of law. And we're already there. Much of what we face today is the direct result of people taking too much off the bone. And when you get a lot of corrupt people in a lot of positions of power that are either weak, feckless, or willing to take a half pound of silver in order to betray the American people, this is what you get. What we have in society today is what you get. And I think that is going to be the biggest takeaway from today, is that every 400 years or so, we have to fight a judiciary. And right now, our judiciary is the one thing that stands between us and getting our resolve. They are the crime family, the cartels. And they go by judges and they wear black robes. And they get to hide their addresses. And they get to persecute people with impunity. So it should be an interesting conversation today. We got a lot to talk about. My hair is intact, Allie. It is absolutely intact. We're here to talk about it. And let me just tell you about our guest, because I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on, our first guest. James is, as I said before, he's an urban critic and cultural commentator. He's born in New York City, so we're going to love his accent. We're going to love that. Raised in Long Island, it's going to get worse. We're going to love his accent here. We'll make him talk to us all day. He's a graduate of the State University of New York in Brockport. He's a former reporter, feature writer, and staff writer for Rolling Stone before becoming a full-time author in 1975. Key work on American landscape and cities. He's the Geography of Nowhere. So critiqued the American suburban sprawl and tragic built environment. Home from Nowhere continued focus on remedies from urban and suburban design failures. It's going to be fun to talk about. The Long Emergency, examining the threats of peak oil, climate change, converging 21st century crisis. I don't believe in climate change. We'll see how that goes. I believe the climate does change. I just don't think man made it change. So we'll see how we do. Anyway, his resume is very long, so I'm not going to waste any more time, and I'm going to take this time with him. James Kunstler, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure. Can you see me okay?
I can see you okay.
I seem to be on a delay in the video.
Oh yeah, so are you on? You must be on the Zoom then. Is it on a Zoom link?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna look like you're Jackie Chan trying to talk to us. Like, wait.
Okay. So you're Joe.
I'm Joe.
Okay. Joe, just so I do want to correct something. I was not raised on Long Island. I spent a couple of years there before my parents got divorced, and I actually grew up in Manhattan.
Oh,
and
that's even worse.
And I actually don't have that much of a New York accent, so
you
I don't want to shock you.
I am shocked.
No, I can do a lot of accents. I can do New York, and I can do.
Does your accent come out when you get pissed off? I just want to know if it comes out when you get pissed off.
No, not really. No, I just get loud and scary.
Oh, loud and scary. East Coaster. I'm an East Coaster from D.C., Washington, D.C.
Well, I've been there many times. I lived there for about 5 months. After I dropped out of corporate journalism in 1975, I rode a motorcycle across the country, and I landed in Washington, D.C., where an old girlfriend of mine who had transmogrified into a friend, was living in a house in Georgetown with a bunch of roommates, and she let me flop there for about 3 months. I was driving an Arlington yellow cab.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me what we had this clip of Mamdani. Are you living in New York right now, by the way?
God, no. I live about 200 miles north of New York City in the upper Hudson Valley, about 40 miles north of Albany, 15 miles east of Saratoga, and 10 miles from the Vermont line, if that gives you my coordinates.
Yeah. I mean, I might be able to drop you a donut there. And I know exactly where
Yeah,
it is.
well, it's a beautiful corner of upstate New York.
Yeah.
It's Washington County, New York.
All right. Well, I wanted to show you this because, we're going to talk about how society has basically gone to hell in a handbasket. And it doesn't seem to have what happened in the city first is now reaching every suburban community across the country, from crime to what can only be can be described as chaos. Well, let's go ahead and play this first clip.
You move up in the polls. Yeah. This is how you move up in the polls. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Let me get one more. Let me get three. Yeah.
So I just want to point out it's 135 pounds.
Yeah.
And
I guess Zoran didn't eat his Wheaties or his tofu.
But the guy was holding the bar up.
Yeah, right. That too. Yeah. I used to be able to bench press my girlfriends, but it's not so much anymore.
Well, I tell you what, I regularly work out with 235, and I don't. If somebody put 135 pounds on it, I need a spot. I got bigger problems. Sorry, I'm a big boy. I'm 6'2", so. Yeah.
Well, you're also not running for mayor of New York, so. Lucky you.
Lucky me. You've kind of talked to people about this this hollowing out before this great collapse. With President Trump shaking up Washington, and what do you think? Do you think we're headed towards a systematic failure, or do you think that this is the prelude to stop what has been going on this slide?
I think there's still a pretty high probability of some kind of a combo collapse. Certainly a very high probability of some kind of financial / economic collapse. And, along the declension of that would be, social collapse, cultural collapse, civilizational collapse. I actually wrote 4 novels in a series about that, trying to depict what it would look like. It's called the World Made by Hand series. And I recommend it if people want to get a comprehensive picture of how I think about that. Right now, we seem to be in a, we're in a sketchy part of the social collapse at the moment. And it's really been, I think that a great deal of it is mysterious. When I wrote my book, The Long Emergency, which was largely about issues, on the ground issues like peak oil and corrupt banking and things like that, I didn't realize how profoundly the American collective psychology would be disordered by the things that I predicted would happen. That was the one component I missed. And what's really gone on, what's really surprised me is how psychologically disordered the country has become, to the extent that, we really can't think straight. And there seems to be a political faction that is seeking to take every advantage of that problem and make it worse. And the faction I'm speaking of course, is the Democratic Party, who I call the progressive Jacobins. And that is a reference to the party that turned revolutionary France upside down and inside out in 1793. And in much the same way that the progressives, so-called, are doing it today, largely through the manipulation of language and disordering people's minds by making it impossible for them to determine what reality is, so that we cannot construct a consensus about what is happening to us, and we can't. It's very hard for us to do anything about it.
All right, so you just talked about the manipulation or the capturing of language.
Yeah.
You could argue, James, if you went backwards, you could argue that if you got rid of the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, it would force media into a more responsible environment because it would give you access to the ability to sue them for lying to the general public. Right now, it's actually legal because of the Modernization Act of 2012 done under Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm fairly intelligent, but you have all these talking heads in Washington and other places. They have to be able to see or understand this collapse that's happening. They have to be able to recognize it. And in order to go backwards, you have to kind of back your way out of things. So why is it that our leaders, even on both sides, because, by the way, I've met a couple of Democrat senators or congressmen that just keep quiet, that are actually pretty reasonable people. So why is it that someone hasn't made the recommendation that if you want to get out of all of this, we just stop them from being able to lie?
Well, that's one of the big mysteries about what's going on right now. And one of the conclusions you can come to is that there may be simply something so irresistible in the zeitgeist, that is, the spirit of the age, that is making it impossible for us to accomplish the things that we need to do. For example, today I was listening to some debates about reforming the voting laws so that you have to present proof of citizenship, and we need to switch to paper ballots and get rid of voting machines, which are obviously corrupt, are able to connect to the internet and therefore susceptible to cheating. And I it's impossible to understand it's why anybody would be against that, other than the fact that they really want to cheat. But that would seem to draw a clear boundary between the Republicans and the Democrats now, although obviously it doesn't draw a clear boundary. And of course, one of the problems with this progressive Jacobin Marxist disordering of the mind is that one of the main tools for doing that is erasing boundaries. And this is a boundary that they have successfully erased, that there's that there's anything that you can't improve the voting system by changing these very concrete things. And so is that part of the zeitgeist? The zeitgeist being that we are now living in a culture without boundaries, where it is impossible to see where things begin and end, and who's on what side, and what's real and what's not real.
Okay.
But I don't know individually, if we made a list of the U.S. Senate and asked ourselves, why are they doing the crazy things they're doing and why they're not accomplishing the things that they must,
right.
It would be very hard without interrogating them, without sitting them down in a room with a good cop and a bad cop and actually, forcing the issue, really.
What's interesting about what you're saying is that I like to study economics.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
And when you study the economics, and that there's a measurement by the confidence, the confidence marker for consumers and for people in politics and for your leaders. So you have these different confidence markers, and you could argue that right now we're at an all-time low across the board in every category on both sides of the aisle. I mean, so much so that I felt the same way back in 2007. Consumer confidence, though, was at an all-time high because they were giving away all these entitlements. They hadn't yet to give away a bunch of money. And I said in November of 2007, I wrote this paper. I actually have it framed. And I was like, we're headed towards a collapse that we've never seen in the history of our country before. And obviously we know what happened in October of 2008, where the entire economy collapsed on itself. And then they blamed it on the mortgage crisis.
Well, it was really the financial sector that collapsed and dragged a lot of stuff down with it. But that was because the investment sector and the banking sector was so corrupt, and they were, trading in so many phony securities that were not worth what they pretended to be worth, and that disordered the banking system.
Okay.
I think what you're describing is something that there's a concept called a high trust or low trust society. And America was once a remarkably high trust society. You see it evinced in something like the movies of the 1940s. If you watch a Preston Sturges movie and see how people behaved and see what a common culture is and how it represents an agreement between people in a nation about what reality is and what the rules are for reality. And, one of the things that has happened, things play out very strangely with unintended consequences over decades. And one thing that played out was the weird consequences of the civil rights crusade of the 1960s. And I lived through that. I was alive back then. And basically, I was a teenager and, I could tell what was going on. So in 1962, 63, 64, we were in a situation where we really needed to get rid of the Jim Crow culture and the Jim Crow laws in America because we were affecting to be the leader of the free world, so-called. And you couldn't do that if you were living in a society that had, second-class citizens. So we did, and we were at that point pretty much a high-trust society with a pretty sturdy common culture. And the civil rights crusade had some very strange and interesting side effects. By the way, I think it was a good thing that we had to do. It was absolutely necessary to do that. But it did have strange effects. And one strange effect, excuse me, was that a certain portion of Black America decided that they wanted to opt out and be separate. They didn't want to be part of a common culture. This was the Black separatist movement of, began about 1962, 63 with Malcolm X. And in 1963 and 4, the two hallmark civil rights pieces of legislation passed. The Public Accommodations Act in 63 or 64, and the Voting Rights Act in 64, 65. And at that point, you get a real movement to opt out of the of joining, this invitation to join American common culture after all of these years of being excluded. And it's represented by, certain figures. Malcolm X got killed about, 64, 65, I believe, around in there. But, his banner was picked up by others. And that went on for a while through the 60s. And then a weird thing happens in the 70s and 80s. A lot of people, especially a lot of liberals, begin to detect that the civil rights movement is not working out as wonderfully as they thought. It did not introduce this utopia of equality that we had expected, maybe, or hoped for. And so they introduced something to make compensate for it, which they called multiculturalism. Multiculturalism was the idea that you didn't need to have a common culture in America. You could have many cultures, and with that, many different kinds of behavior, and no agreement about what was decent behavior and what wasn't, and many other points of value that we were not able or didn't want to agree upon anymore. And that was a tremendously destructive thing. It basically gave the left, liberal America, Democratic Party America, it gave them a pass to even imagine that we should have a common culture in America. And without a common culture, you're not going to have a high trust society.
Right.
And so the very thing that best characterized America at its best spiritually as a culture was thrown away. And that in turn has sort of, morphed and elaborated and become more and more extreme over the ensuing decades since the 1980s. We went through the political correctness period, and that morphed into a period of Jacobin persecution, in which if you didn't agree with any of the ideas of the left and their notion of how we should treat society, then you were actively persecuted and punished. And in fact, it brought out a side of the Democratic Progressive Party that was really shocking, which was their masochism and sadism. The pleasure that they took in punishing their enemies and their opponents. And, you saw that very clearly.
And just so we're clear, it's not just the punishment and the pain that they cause their adversary. It's the symbolism involved in when they cause that pain.
Well, you have to explain that. I'm not quite sure what you're alluding to.
So, let's hypothetically say you were going to do something to file a lawsuit. You would want to make sure that somebody got that. If they were a Christian, you knew they were a Christian, you would serve them on the 24th of December if it was in December. You would find some way to tie it back to something that you could disrupt so that they would remember that for the rest of their life. That's the innate.
Well, that's where the sadism comes in. They wanted to turn the screw. They wanted to twist the knife as much as possible to hurt their opponents as much as possible. And I think that traditional America, sometimes called conservative America, and now known as MAGA America, was just confounded by that. Didn't know how to deal with such cruelty and insanity. We have now. It took a number of years, and it took an awful lot of abuse on the part of the left on traditional America. But we've got it now. We know that we were abused. We know that we were played. We know that the left is insane. And we know that we have to retrieve a common culture in order to succeed as a nation.
James, I would argue something that I think is really important, and that is good people are capable of great violence, much bigger violence than I would say our counterparts are. In other words, there's an underpinning that's happening right now where the temperature of good people, their patience level to tolerate evil and what's happened to them up to this point is waning. So the less accountability we see in market, the more likely they are to take this into their own hands collectively.
Well, notice something that, almost all the violence in America in the last 10, 20 years has come from the left. 100%. And the right, the traditional Americans, have been remarkably patient with this nonsense. I think what's happening now is actually quite hopeful, because I see a lot of sign that we are going to deal with this stuff institutionally. I do believe that Mr. Trump's Department of Justice is quite serious about prosecuting the Russiagate crimes and many of the other crimes that occurred in this country over the last 10 years. Oh, well, you're shaking your head and you disagree.
Yeah,
we can debate about that. But I find that it's very hopeful. I see every sign that they're sincere about it and that their intention is serious.
All right, so I'm going to agree with a couple of things. One, the academics of what you're saying of going after people for Russiagate, that is true. I will tell you right now that the American people don't give two squirts of shit about Russiagate. What they care about is the things that adversely affected them. Being forced to actually take vaccines, watching their loved ones die, watching
It's all
people come
part of
across
one
the
thing,
border.
though. It's all part of one program of aggression against traditional America. They're not really separate. And in fact, one of the things that I think is hopeful about it is that the DOJ is going to prosecute it more or less as one continuing crime with a lot of different components and modules to it. So, yeah, I don't think that that you can separate those things out quite so clearly. It was, it was one long programmatic aggression against sanity, common sense, traditional American values, and well, I'll stop there.
Well, yeah, but I think I don't think we disagree on the fact that President Trump is going to enact a certain amount of accountability, aka vengeance, against those people that have done really bad things. But I will tell you, until the long arm of the law gets to the point where the people are the ones that is the reason, you're going to continue to see this discontent that's happening. I mean, I see it every day.
How are the people not the people in quotes not the reason for what the DOJ is aiming to do? How are they not part of that?
All right,
It seems to me that Mr. Trump is quite clear that he was elected by the people to represent the people and the people's aspirations and desires. And one of the things that they apparently desire is to correct these abuses of the last 10 years.
All right. So there's a causal point of what people see that is a symbol of them getting justice, people getting justice. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Russiagate was about the fact that President Trump was colluding with Russia and was doing things to adversely affect America by having a special relationship with Russia.
Well, that was the accusation. That's not what the scandal was about. The scandal was about them using that false accusation to try to seditiously remove Trump from his first
several
term.
Times. But the epicenter of that, the academics of that, or is it President Trump was the epicenter, right? Right now, and James, I'm going to argue this till the cows come home, because I like to look at the math of whether or not the temperature for people is going down. And I would argue that in the last 9 months, the temperature has gone up and not gone down.
I would agree with you that people are very impatient. But part of that is that I think they don't understand one component of the whole piece here, which is that if cases are going to be brought against these people, James Comey, Brennan, really high up officers of the government, these cases have to be carefully prepared, and they got to be good cases, good solid cases. And you don't do that in a week and a half or 6 weeks. It takes time to do that. I think that we will see in the medium term, going into the fall towards winter, that it will have happened with remarkable speed.
Okay.
In terms of how the law operates.
So I heard this similar thing, but I'm not pushing back on you on the fact they're going to go after Comey and all. But again, I don't care about this. See, there's a difference that when we look at trying to solve a problem, you can service the symptom or you can solve the problem. It's XBML, business model language, right? So you use that to establish what it is that your target is. And right now, there's a massive problem in our society that people feel like they're invisible, that they don't matter. Even if collectively it's for the good of the people, people don't feel like that it ever hits their community because the judges are corrupt, not against President Trump. That's one check of a equation. But they're corrupt against them and their community. They have become persecuted individually. And until we get to the bottom of solving election crimes and saying, listen, I appreciate all the stuff about Russiagate, but you have an obligation to make it so that the people feel like collectively they have a voice. And right now, they don't feel that way because you have a largely...
Joe, look, I think it's quite clear to me anyway that Mr. Trump's DOJ and FBI are actually going to go after the 2020 election fraud and 2022 and 2024 election fraud. It's quite clear to me they're not going to give a pass to that. There's just they can't do everything at once. As far as the COVID stuff this is concerned, the COVID vaccine tyranny goes. I think we have to imagine that we're very fortunate that Bobby Kennedy is in the position that he's in, and yet we have to understand what a difficult position he is in, and that he's got to be very careful and delicate about how he disassembles this tyrannical pharma matrix that has been erected. It's very powerful. It has a lot of money. It has a lot of allies and helpers in the government and elsewhere. And he's got to be careful. I think he's doing it admirably at this point. And I'm willing to stand by, as a traditionalist American observer, and see how he carries this out.
Yeah. So just so we're clear, I don't have to agree with everything that President Trump does to support him as the CEO and commander in chief in the country. So I think it's important that we give color to the people, because the people are the ones that ultimately are the ones that are feeling like things aren't happening fast enough. As it pertains to Bobby Kennedy, Bobby's amazing. Like, had President Trump not run for office, I would have supported Bobby, even if he ran on the Democrat ticket.
Yeah, I was running campaign meetings for him in the spring of 24.
So I believe that he is a man of great character. They've torn him down quite a bit. He likes women. That's not a secret. He's liked women for 50 years.
Yeah, but he wasn't hiding any of that. He wasn't hiding anything.
Not.
He wasn't hiding his heroin addiction when he was a kid, or a young. Even when he was middle-aged, he was, he was probably using. But he's come a long way. He's flipped his life around, and he's completely serious and a true patriot. And I think we're going to address all these things, but time is nature's way of making sure that everything doesn't happen at once. And not even Donald Trump, who is proving to be a pretty able manager of this polity, even he can't make everything happen at once, and he's got to pick his fights carefully. And I think he's doing a pretty good job of picking his fights carefully for now.
Yeah, I mean, look, selfishly, I want the people that actually have the machines, the election machines and the mail-in ballots, and the people that actually stole the voice of the people and put criminals in positions of power over the last 20 years. I want those people to hang from a bridge personally. But I mean, I realize that their time will come in this life or the next. But there's not a whole lot you can give back to the public other than, some justice that's going to quell that thirst. I just my hesitation is that thirst is growing, and there's a large.
Well, like I said, they're impatient. People are very impatient. They've had to witness this for years, and they've been messed around with for years and lied to for years, and they're certainly sick of it. And in relation to this business about a trust society, there's also a feature of that called the trust horizon. And that's a phrase that was kind of cooked up by Raul Mayer and his blogging partner, Nicole Foss, about 10 years ago. The trust horizon is an idea. Raul is the guy who puts out the Automatic Earth website. And the trust horizon idea is that, in these times of terrible political stress, as you can no longer trust far away institutions, and the horizon creeps closer and closer to where you are. Now, one of the problems with that in America in particular is that, and this gets back to one of the early nonfiction books I wrote, the Geography of Nowhere, is that our communities have become so destroyed by suburban sprawl and all of its features that people all over America do not feel like they are part of any community or any organism close at hand that they feel that they can belong to. They don't really know their neighbors. They don't do anything with them. And that's making it harder for people to do things locally, even if it's getting rid of bad judges and running elections for judges who are better judges. It's harder and harder for them to do that. And
We've made justice for the average person unachievable.
Well, it is. It's very difficult at the moment. And, even if you happen to have the misfortune of getting tangled up in the legal system, at the very least, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money and may bankrupt and ruin you and destroy your family and your household. And that's a well understood thing. And that's terrible too. That's one of the consequences of having so many people go into higher education and law school that we've produced too many lawyers who have nothing better to do than harass their fellow citizens. Shakespeare was famous in one of the Henry plays. One of the characters early in the play says, they're talking about an insurrection in the kingdom, and he says, "First kill all the lawyers." And, we're kind of at that point in America. Now, apropos of what we appear to be, really grappling with here is the whole question of what's called lawfare. And there's a whole component of truly evil lawyers out there, mostly working for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Who have dedicated themselves to this program for obfuscating and destroying and shredding the law, turning it upside down, turning it into an instrument for delaying justice and for directing justice in the wrong direction, mainly towards the victims of injustice. And these are people like Mark Elias, who played a large part in the election fraud program, because it was a program, of 2020. And Norm Eisen, who played a role in that and played a role in Russiagate, and also a large role in the first impeachment of Trump. And Mary McCord, who worked in various positions at the Department of Justice and the FBI, National Security Division, and has been, I think she's sort of lodged at Georgetown U now, which has become a haven for lawfare artists and other bad actors. And Andrew Weissman, who ran the Mueller Commission because Robert Mueller was pretty much, non compos mentis, as he demonstrated in the one hearing. I forget whether it was the Senate or the House, but he was called into Congress to testify about his commission. And he was unable to and unwilling to answer just about any question coherently. And it became obvious that he was out of it. And it was obvious to just about everybody who was paying attention that Andrew Weissman was running the Mueller Commission with 19 or so Democratic Party stalwart lawfare lawyers, and that the whole purpose of it was basically to cover up the Russiagate mischief. And all of that was so complex and so hidden by institutional armor that it has been very hard for anybody to sort it out. But now, now that there is a different group of people running the DOJ, and they are firing a lot of the old people and the bad actors, and they're, every day discovering new people who have got to go. I think that the picture has changed, and we are capable of sorting it out, and we are going to sort it out, and these people are going to be brought to justice, and we are going to get, we're going to, I think, correct what has been a terrible episode in our country's history.
I pray that you were right.
It is.
I just pray that it happens faster than it is right now for the greater good, because otherwise I think your initial assessment of total societal collapse will happen.
Well, that's on a parallel track. And, that's even something that is part of a greater, shall we say, a greater zeitgeist, which maybe pertains to things like the fourth turning idea, or the 80-year chondritive
fourth turning
cycles. Well, he described it pretty well. They described it was two guys, two authors, but you know, a lot of look. History is a trickster. History is very strange.
Written
In
by
the
victors.
fourth turning narrative, there's a character called the Gray Champion who they talk about, and what they mean by that is that, you know, some elder generational character comes along to attempt to rescue the country from a terrible crisis. Well, who imagined that that character would be, you know, a real estate developer and TV host named Donald Trump, the most improbable sort of national champion you can imagine. But, you know, it's weird. People come out of nowhere. A similar thing, well, a similar thing kind of happened at the end of the French Revolution, where, you know, the French Revolution dragged on a whole lot longer than the American Revolution did. And it did not end favorably with a constitutional government that anybody was pleased with. It just ended in exhaustion and a vacuum of leadership. And, you know, around 1796 or 98 or so, I forget exactly, there was a body of politicians in charge in Paris, and they weren't doing very well. And there was an uproar in Paris. So they called in an artillery officer to put down this uprising. The artillery officer was a 26-year-old young man named Napoleon Bonaparte, and he put down the insurrection very, very handily, and he had the appearance of tremendous competence, and he also had a certain amount of charisma about him. And all of a sudden, everybody in Paris just turned to this 26-year-old guy, and they said, he's the guy. He's the guy who's going to get us out of this terrible slough that we've fallen into. And, you know, lo and behold, in a few years, you know, he morphs from being a consul or co-director of the government to being the emperor of France. And, you know, nobody expected that. Nobody expected France to go back to being some kind of a monarchy, you know, just 15 years after the revolution. But there you go. Things happen. Weird things happen. So weird things will happen in the USA. And the best thing you can do is prepare yourself, become a competent person managing your own life, taking care of your own business, and finding a geographical place that's worth defending.
So if we look at this from the perspective of the next 5 years, because I think that's what people are interested in, is like short term, 1 year. Okay, can we put up the short term pain? Is 5 years an acceptable kind of outlook of, okay, can we look 5 years ahead?
I think the next 5 years is going to be pretty disorderly. People are going to have to put up with a lot of pain. Probably my
We've
generation.
We've already done that for 5 years. You're telling us
no, we put up with a lot. No, we put up with some pain and a lot of discomfort and a lot of aggravation. But you know, you're going to see. But that's not pain. It's not like going, look. You know what pain is? Pain is walking around the rubble of Berlin in 1945, in July of 1945, 3 months after the war is over. That's pain. You know, we haven't done that. You know, we're going to go through some very, very difficult economic bottlenecks. Part of it is going to be the petroleum problem, which we have forgotten about completely. We're not paying attention to it at all. Part of it is going to be the fake money problem, the fact that banking and investment is so corrupt. Part of it is going to be the technology problem, where we're creating too many technical miracle things that can harm us and kill us. And part of it is going to be just political sloth and inertia and an inability to get out of the habits that we're in. Like, you know, all this nonsense that's going on in Congress, like, you know, we're unable to confirm Mr. Trump's nominees to head departments and things like that for stupid reasons.
Hey, listen, I remember it took to confirm Bob Destro for the Deputy Secretary of State for for the continent of Africa dealing with humanitarian aid, it took almost 3 years to confirm him. 3 years.
Yeah.
President
Why do
Trump's
you
first
why do
term.
you even stick around?
So, but we have the House and the Senate. Here's the other thing: we have the capability right now of solving massive problems with Congress, but a
Yes, we
vast
do.
majority of our party, they say the Republican Party. I don't know if you were in the party, but let's say the Republican Party is captured by a little-known organization called AIPAC and a few other obscure lobbyist groups that, for whatever they stand for, like it when things don't get accomplished and we don't retreat on this 100-yard field that we were up against the 5-yard line.
I'm not sure that they're that interested in doing that. I would, and by the way, I was born Jewish. I'm not much of a
Jewish Christian, so I mean,
I'm not much of a practicing Hebrew, but I do think that AIPAC probably exercises too much interest, in attempting to do everything it can to keep the money flowing to Israel, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that they have any vested interest in upsetting American values, tradition, government, social order, any of that, and not at all. If anything, they have an interest in us remaining as stable as possible. And so a lot of that, I think, is just a different kind of hysteria. We're living in a historical moment of manifold and serial hysterias. If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not the Me Too movement with, middle-class women going nuts over imagined rape scenarios, and stuff like that, then it's a racism hysteria. It's a tranny hysteria.
Right.
It's just one thing after another.
So, James, let's embrace our roots, our Hebrew Jewish roots, and let's be honest about the fact that we actually don't know who runs some of these organizations, these amorphous organizations like AIPAC. We don't know, and it's not just AIPAC that's a problem. Pharma's a problem. I mean, we can go downstream and look at the ADL and the.
I don't quite believe that. I think that if you look closely enough, these people are in plain sight. It's like, the idea that I hear from a lot of my conservative friends, and I have, most of my remaining friends are conservatives because all my old hippie friends have bounced me. But, they often refer to some, mysterious they, the globalists, the bankers, the Rothschilds. I don't buy any of that, really. I think that most of the people who are doing the damage are in plain sight. Christine Lagarde and Macron and, Klaus Schwab, whatever he's got left, Larry Fink. These people are all plainly visible. The thing is that they haven't had to answer for any of their crimes and misdeeds, and they haven't had to do any splaining about what they're up to.
Well, let's
I think
talk
that's
about
over.
Splaining. Let's talk about splaining for a minute, because you wrote a blog just recently, called Ghislaine Splaining.
I wrote it at 4:00 this morning, starting at Ghislaine Splaining.
Yeah. So you how did you get her transcript?
It's right out there on the internet. In my case, I happened to go to a website that I favor called The Last Refuge, also sometimes known as the Conservative Treehouse, and he had the Justice Department link right on the website on. I guess it was Friday night. You have to go back a couple of pages to get to it, but it's right there. The Justice Department has all the transcripts. They've been released to the public. You can read them all. They're pretty interesting.
Okay, so what do you take about her separating herself from Epstein and saying that she had a
what I wrote this morning. Well, what I wrote this morning was that if you actually read the transcript and look, this is a woman who has been involved, who's been implicated in this great crime against humanity
in prison for it
for over 15 years. it turns out this was actually known before she said it in the in the interview, but people didn't pay attention to it. She, in the course of all of this, in the course of all of these court cases and transactions, including her own trial, nobody from the government ever interviewed her before Todd Blanche sat her down 2 weeks ago to do it. No one talked to her. No one interviewed her. She said no one even called her on the phone. You know,
James, that's true, because the FBI has long had a history of being the cartel henchmen. Like they're the ones that take swipes at people, will raid somebody's home, put the fear of God into a particular individual, but rarely get to the bottom of any crime. Usually that's done on a local level and they just take over a case. But
well, yeah, they've been bad actors. They've been bad actors for a long
decades.
time.
For decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think you know, there are kind of goes in a sine and cosine curve, and you know, there are worse times and better times, and the last 10 years have been the worst. I mean, it's worse than even when J. Edgar Hoover was dancing around in a dress. You know,
they worked with the CIA
and blackmailing the Kennedy administration.
I mean, they worked with the CIA to murder the president of the United States. So
it's a high probability.
So I just think that it's more pervasive now that we can see it. I mean, it's more.
Well, they went so far, you know, they were so overconfident under Mueller and then Comey, you know, and whoever was in between, or, you know, the last several guys. They were so overconfident that, I mean, look how Look how errant their behavior was, you know, in the Russiagate thing. You know, guys like Peter Strzok, you know, a very high up official. I mean, he was the head of counterintelligence. He wasn't just some schmuck agent in, you know, in some you know, remote office. He was a high up guy, and he was about as arrogant as you could possibly be about being able to do anything you want to do to anybody. And that's how they were. And you know, it's different now.
So what do you say? What do you think about what do you think about the crime family that we're dealing with right now? Because, you know, the FBI.
I think it's well, which crime family are you talking about?
Well, I mean, I'll just point to, you know, you can't even call it the Biden crime family, because he was an empty shell. And since you've been around Washington for decades, confirm this for me, because I remember being underneath in the congressional dining area, the dumbest human being, the dumbest person in Congress for decades was known as one person. What was his name?
For decades. Yeah, I don't know who you're referring to.
Joe Biden.
I mean, I know who it is now.
Joe Biden was known to be the dumbest human being. They would literally say that there was an award, the guy that would get it was Joe Biden. And people would openly talk about
that, of course. Sure.
He was nearly retarded. And they would talk about him that way.
I don't think he was nearly retarded, but he was pretty dim. And, you know, obviously the guy was a tool. And obviously he was running a racket of his own family racket. But, you know, I regard a lot of what went on in the Democratic Party, and indeed in the federal government for the last, 20, 30 years, as just a giant racketeering operation. Now, I think Mr. Trump needs a lot of credit for cutting off the revenue flow from USAID, which was supporting a great deal of that.
Yeah,
it was supporting a lot of CIA ops, and it was supporting all these nonprofits that were assisting the lawfare program.
James, I said this back in 2011. I said it back in 2011.
It was pretty obvious.
I can't be the smartest guy, but nobody has said this stuff. No,
Mr. Trump's appointees said it, and then they went after USAID, and then they demonstrated exactly what a money funnel operation and money laundering operation it was. And now, you know, it's been disabled, and now a lot of that money ain't going to be going to the places that have been used to getting it. I mean, look at USAID absolutely and entirely supported the shock troops of the Democratic Party in the last 10 years. They paid for BLM, they paid for Antifa, they paid for riots, they paid for they paid largely for the election rigging operations. They paid for all that, and now they're gone. And they're not going to pay for it anymore. And the Democratic Party is cratering, collapsing. They're pathetic. Even the things that they're doing to grasp at straws now, in the twilight of their existence, are pathetic. They're just tripling down on their racism bullshit and their tranny bullshit, and they seem to not have a clue.
I love how you just put it right out there. That tranny bullshit. You tell someone
Well, that's
old
what it
school.
is.
He's like walks out. He's like, nah, I'm just gonna call that bullshit what it is. Bullshit.
Let me tell you something about the whole tranny thing, which most people miss. Okay, in fact, this is one of the things that our culture is very confused about, and they have been deliberately confused. Remember the drag queen story hour?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And everybody, not everybody, traditional America, MAGA America, was very offended by that and was complaining about it a lot. You know what those guys were doing, the drag queens? They were not pretending to be women. That's bullshit. They were pretending to be monsters. They were presenting women as monsters. That was the whole theme of the whole program. Now, why they would want to do that, I don't know. I think it was, just another attempt to present mental illness as a desirable thing to aspire to, which is another way of Jacobin progressivism turning America upside down and inside out, because they want to do that. They want to destroy our culture. They want to destroy the economy. They want to destroy American tradition. And that's one way to do it. But, it wasn't what it pretended to be. A lot of things aren't what they pretend to be.
No, I would agree with you fully.
But anyway, getting back to your point, what we've seen is a gigantic racketeering operation. And that's one of the reasons that the Democratic Party is losing its mind now. And, it's being disassembled. I think Mr. Trump and his people know exactly what they're aiming at and what to go for and what to take apart. And they're doing it systematically.
Yeah, so I believe that the weak President Trump is a strong man among weak people, and he's got a couple.
Quite right.
He's got a couple of strong people. I thought Susie Wiles was a problem. I don't think she's a problem anymore. Matter of fact, the more and more I see her operate, the more intrigued I am by her. Look, she's a tenacious individual, but her tenacity and her ability to get things done and to call out people very readily. Now,
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I think other people, like Kardashian Patel, Kash Patel, I call him Kardashian Patel.
Yeah.
Right? Wears a little fake badge on his thing, Deputy Doofeeler down here. He's got a little FBI badge, right? Who can't seem to stand up and do the right thing and has to play, social media man of, breaking, everything's breaking. Like this is the head of the FBI, and he walks around acting like he's I don't even know what you'd call him. Madonna?
The drama queen.
Yeah, I mean he's a girl. Look, I think he's a
He's
closet
not a
gay
girl.
person.
I don't think so. I think he's all right, but can't
stand him.
He's a little bit more showbiz than we're used to. But I have a lot of confidence in Bongino, and look, they just hired Andrew Bailey,
that guy's a stud.
The very competent Attorney General of Missouri, to be a co-deputy. And you know why they did that?
Kardashian's on his way out, brother. Kardashian's on his way out. He's going to run the FBI.
No, he may be, but in the meantime, do you know why they did that?
Because neither one of them can find themselves out of a box.
No, that's not why. It's because they got so much to do. There's so much going on there that they needed another strong guy to process all of this crap that they're having to deal with.
All right, I'm going to have you back on. And look, I like to crack jokes and I like to poke at people. And
I like to crack jokes too.
And Kardashian Patel is such an easy target. He's just easy. He put
Well-
this video up of the 100, 200, 100 pull-ups or 50 pull-ups and 100 push-ups. And then he put the video out and he put it on time delay, like a time lapse. And he put it out like 3.5 minutes, but it was really like 30 minutes. so you can't ever get enough. It's like the thing that always keeps giving is some of these guys are just, he does not look like Bobby Kennedy. And he's definitely not going to be able to do it as fast. Why even
Well, you
try?
you can't twang on him just because he's a funny-looking little guy who was born in Pakistan. I don't think that's exactly fair. I think his heart's in the right place, and I'm standing by to see how he does. I'm not going to twang on him personally.
And the subject of your next book will not be Kardashian Patel.
Subject of my next book, which is coming out in November, is it's set in 1963, the week of the Kennedy assassination.
All right.
It's partly about that, but it's also about a 12-year-old boy who's on the loose in Manhattan in November of 1963, having adventures which are largely comical. And the climax takes place, spoiler alert, in J.D. Salinger's kitchen in a blizzard in New
All
Hampshire.
right. Well, James, it was great to have you on. I'll have to have you on again. How can everybody follow you?
My blog, Clusterfuck Nation, can I say that?
Yes.
My blog comes out every Monday morning and every Friday morning, twice a week, at www.kunstler.com on Substack. My books are all on my website there, and I have published many, many books, and there it is. There's one of them rolling up there on the old scroller.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna order a couple of your books. I got a bunch of authors that have come on of late, so I've been reading a ton. It's because I told everybody I wanted to read their book and then have them back on, so now I got to do it in a very quick period of time.
All right, well, it's character building.
I love it. So God bless you. Thanks for coming on, and we'll get you on again.
God bless all y'all.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
James is fun. Yes, and he took it in stride. He even poked fun at Kardashian Patel with me. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by our next guest, probably one of my favorite people, my spirit animal. Casey is the car guy. He had a fire rant this morning. I'll make sure I put it up so you guys can go through it. It's 38 minutes long. We got a couple cuts from that we're going to play when we have him on, but we're going to talk about kind of what we just ended up with, and that is the weakness among men. The strong. Casey's a strong guy. I'm a strong guy. President Trump's a strong guy, surrounded by a couple of strong people, and then the rest are weak. Most of Conservative Inc. and most of the world is run by weak people who see a threat to anything that can create opportunity and advancement. I mean, think about it. It's just the way it is. So we're going to take a commercial break. Before we do, Goldco is our sponsor. I tried to answer everybody's questions related to this. You just heard about a societal collapse that is likely to happen. Invest in gold and silver. Put your IRA in gold and silver. Put a certain portion of it. But you can go to untamedgold.com. Check it out. Call 844-960-GOLD. And I don't think you're going to find a better opportunity than you do right now. And even if you just wanted a short-term fix for instead of a long-term hold, I still think you're going to put yourself in a pretty good position with Goldco. They've got a great reputation, and frankly, they've done right by me over and over again. So go to untamedgold.com. If you have bought from Goldco, tell me how the experience is. You can go to Joe at Untamed Gold. I want to know. So send me something, Joe at untamednation.com. Send me something so I can understand how it went for you. I do want to track it. I want to make sure that people are getting taken care of. So go ahead and do that. We'll be at a commercial break. We'll be right back. Hey, real quick. Did you know thousands of Americans are jumping on the #1 precious metal offer in the country right now? If you've got $50,000 or more saved for retirement, you could qualify for an exclusive offer from Goldco. We're talking about up to 10% back in bonus silver just for taking action to protect your savings. This isn't one of those sketchy free gold deals with a bunch of strings attached. Nope. When they say 10% back in bonus silver, they actually mean 10% back. No gotchas, no fine print to trick you, just your 10%. Plus, they have first-class customer service and a great buyback program. There's a reason why Goldco has won a bunch of awards. They're the real deal. So call 844-960-GOLD. That's 844-960-4653. Or you can visit untamedgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit and learn more about how you can get 10% while also helping to protect your savings. It's a win-win, but supplies are limited, so please don't wait. Call Goldco at 844-960-4653 or visit untamedgold.com. That's 844-960-GOLD or untamedgold.com. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, a commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
My first time here shooting at the shooting range.
How's it going? It's also my first time, and I'm really excited.
It's also my first time here, first time shooting a gun.
My day off of work, and they were like, hey, you want to shoot some guns? That was awesome. The revolver is crazy. I will definitely come again.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really cool experience.
100% bringing my friends here another time.
I like to come shoot because I get to spend time with my family. And the same for me. I love spending time with my family. It's something to do.
It's a lot of fun shooting.
When I first moved back into town, the first place I came was DCF Guns, and I signed up for a membership right away.
I got into shooting because of self-defense. I would encourage all women to be ready and to feel comfortable handling a handgun.
This was my first time ever shooting at DCF West. It felt amazing. I shot an AR-15 and it was amazing. It was powerful and I loved it.
I'm here today as a part of a group of women that support one another in continuing to practice and refine our knowledge.
Not only self-protection of ourselves, but protection of our loved ones as well.
I have fun and I get to meet with other ladies.
You should always be prepared to defend yourself.
And I love coming to DCF Guns West to shoot. I come with my family. It's a nice, clean, friendly range. Here I feel safe. I feel like the people to my left and my right are also really cognizant of their range etiquette. That's why I come to DCF Guns West.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. All right. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. I'm going to go ahead and bring Casey on. You guys have seen him here before, backed by popular demand. We're going to talk about something different than, we're going to talk about weakness. We're going to talk about opportunity. We're going to talk about, so Casey and I had a conversation on the phone, and he goes, let's just talk about that. I go, okay, let's do it. But, so Casey, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Good to be back.
It's good to have you. We were just talking on the break about your watches.
Yeah.
So tell everyone where to go to be able to buy a watch.
Well, right now you can get a sneak peek if you go to my Instagram, which is just Casey Putsch. I put up a few pictures, not everything, because I'm kind of keeping it under the radar. But right now I'm finishing building the founders watches.
For those on the audio version, it's Putsch. Okay.
Yes.
Just so clear. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. But a few pictures there. I'm keeping it relatively under the radar. Kind of gearing up to be able to launch later this year with some very limited production runs. But basically, I source the highest end mechanical parts from Switzerland, period. And anything that's not from Switzerland, like the high-end alligator bands and such, those come from the United States. So it's something that the product means a lot to me. But I think all men want their watches to mean something. So every one of the production watches will be named for a person, not specifically their name, but their life and the life they lived in the past and what's important to that. So the watches effectively are designed for a person of life to mean something. And then, in building the company, and rather than just throwing silly money at marketing that means nothing, we'll actually support things that matter, like the Genius Garage educational programs I do to help, cultivate the best young engineers, projects that relate to maybe restorations in aviation or historic motorsports, and doing things that matter that way. So I think there's the opportunity to build a watch company that, one, makes the highest quality automatic and mechanical watches you can have that means something, but also it just matters. It supports more. It's not just another corporate BS fakeness throwing money around.
Yeah.
And that's important. That's something I want to see exist forevermore, and actually instill that value with family and keep something of the company in the family. I think we have to bring that old world mentality back.
I agree with you 500,000%. So I wasn't going to talk about this, but you obviously we're aligned. Like the more I watch your videos, the more we're aligned, other than the fact that you're a mechanical genius and I personally don't carry those skills.
I want to
know how to fix a lawnmower. I know how to fix a lawnmower. My ride-on lawnmower I've had to fix a couple times. Right, I look at it and I'm like, okay, this belt's got to be broken because I'll just get a new one of those. And then I just watch your video and figure out how to, not your video, but a video on YouTube.
Yeah.
Figure out how to do it. I'm smart enough to figure it out, but you dug into the marketing campaigns and going back to this wokeness, this DEI that's still prevalent in society. They're still pressing it. They're pressing hard on it. Cracker Barrel, you name it.
Yeah, Cracker Barrel is just absurd. It's just a destruction of everything that matters and a complete lack of understanding of the actual people and demographics and why they go there. And we've already seen this rebranding crap happen with Jaguar. We saw it happen with Bud Light. We see this kind of crap in Disney. And with Bud Light, Jaguar, and now Cracker Barrel, I'm looking at this going, this is not coincidental. This is not accidental. They are not that stupid. Maybe the marketing people fully believe in this because they're woke idiots. But I'm looking at this going, this is tactical.
So the marketing guy put up a post that says, I was the marketing director for Cracker Barrel and they just fired me this morning because a few disgruntled people came out. So I'm going to take a little break and then I'm going to come back and get back into the job hunt. And I was like, that's like nuclear. It took Japan 80 years to recover. You might not get a job before you retire.
Yeah, he might have to start drawing anime too.
So did we find a couple of cuts? We have the 38-minute one. I don't want to play that, but do we have a smaller cut that we can play?
The intro is pretty good. It's a pretty good summary.
All right, let's play it.
1 minute.
Play it. Okay.
Hit it, baby.
Let's do it again. Play it.
Hit it.
Push that button. Cut one.
No, it's coming.
Cut.
Oh, you had it nailed last time.
What?
Really? How'd you do it last time?
Just play it off X. What are you talking about? You just had it up.
Stream it. I won't get bad.
Play it. Cut one.
I could dance. Sing a song and dance. We could do show and tell.
Dude, it says C1. You guys just put it in there. Play it. Oh my gosh, kill me.
Okay. If it doesn't play, we can start talking about it. It'll pop up when it pops up.
Traded by this new Cracker Barrel rebrand. However, it's something we also saw with the Jaguar cars, as well as Bud Light branding campaigns. So your favorite truffle pig of corruption and lies decided to use Grok once again to see what similarities exist with these companies and their stock markets. Those are the only two it came up, BlackRock and Vanguard. Gee, we seem to hear a lot about them these days, don't we? What are theoretical ways to profit with regard to buying and selling stocks if you knew a company's value would plummet temporarily, if you knew when that would happen? But that led me down a rabbit hole where I remembered a story of Nathan Meyer Rothschild from hundreds of years ago and asked Grok about that. Oddly enough, it was quick to point out that that could be considered anti-Semitic. Shocker. The decline of Western culture was clearly
I'm not prompting it to do that stuff. And Grok, man, like when I asked that story about Rothschild, 'cause that's like a famous old story from the Battle of Waterloo and the Napoleonic Wars. And like within like 2 sentences, it's bringing up about anti-Semitic tropes and stuff. And I'm like, we're not even talking about nations or Israel or religion. What the heck? And I'm like, well, I guess the guy's Jewish. I mean, like, why? Grok's being an overreactive mother here. I just wanted to bring up historical things as related to lending and markets and stuff. Damn.
Well, that leads me to, we're not allowed to question anything. Just no laughing, no smiling, no having fun. Absolutely no truth to be told. Please do not. Galatians 4:16. Am I the enemy because I tell you the truth? The answer is yes. You are the enemy. Stop talking.
Yeah, well, I'm tired of the cage. I played all the games and I'm bored.
I've seen some of your toys. I don't think you're bored.
No, I'm playing.
I'm
still building. I'm building stuff. I'm building better stuff, but that's not enough. That's not enough. Like I said, I'm done with the cage. I'm chewing out of this cage.
I agree with you fully. Well, if we can do this. This is what you're talking about. But Netanyahu calls for the mass censorship of the algorithms and social medias to mute criticism of Israel. Let's play.
Of course he does.
Play this. Cut to
it's very hard to fight the the deception, the lies, the starved children, the pictures of starved children who turn out to have cerebral palsy or other congenital diseases that leave them emaciated. And Israel is, of course, accused of starving children, pretty much the way that in the Middle Ages Jews were accused of killing Christian children for their blood. So, what do you do against the lie that circles the earth 10 times before the truth has a chance to emerge? You have to shorten the war as speedily as possible. And frankly, we also have to do something about the algorithms and the social networks. This is a big challenge. I don't want to dismiss.
If I was Satan, he would be my best friend.
So he said something that I thought was interesting. We used to be back when they said that we would kill the children for their blood. That's a stretch, unless you really have something going on that you don't want people to know.
Hey man, what's on your conscience? What are you worried about? Who's talking about that?
I wasn't going to bring it up, but now that you brought it up, you did kill Jesus.
He's not okay. Putting all that aside, let's put all this aside. All of this. Let me just give him a perfectly objective, reasonable critique.
Okay.
He's not in touch enough with people in reality, because what he puts out there, even to just me being a YouTuber, watching people present and being able to read people and know if something's BS or not, I'm like, this guy's just a very good Machiavelli functioning sociopath, period. I mean, he embodies the dark triad personality traits flawlessly.
Well, he's also 3 feet tall.
Irrelevant.
He's a really
they're doing some
guy.
Very good Tom Cruise magic with him, because I wouldn't have known.
He's a very small man with a little itty bitty peepee.
The thing of it is, the things I just said are all I can say about all of my opinions on a lot of those things, because I have a filter, and I know that we'll probably get in trouble if I say any of my other opinions.
Well, let's just ask. Let me just ask you the question: if you like that guy, if I was in a dark alley, I wouldn't be afraid of him. I mean, he could have Krav Maga, like a 25th degree black belt, and I would still smash him, right? And this gets down to, and I don't mean that I want to smash beat the hell out of.
No, we're talking a hypothetical horsepower and torque.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to, but this gets down to strength versus weakness, and the fact that the weak people control things because they're so afraid of strong, morally correct individuals, and so they strip opportunity and only prop up their own weakness in order to stop that strength from grabbing hold and maybe guiding society. I don't know how to describe it any other way, but we've gotten so far down the hill. Yeah.
It's a tale as old as time. I mean, let's say you're a hypothetical person. Now, I'm not in any way aligning this toward any person or nation. This is truly, genuinely hypothetical. If you're a person who can create things from nothing, take responsibility for themselves, build something from nothing, go there, you're going to be confident. You got stuff to back up what you're saying. If you can't do anything and your power has to come from somebody else or somewhere else, then you're going to have to come up with a clever way to find power, because at the end of the day, you're already kind of useless and effectively a leech. In fact, I genuinely didn't mean to do it, but I said something that was relating to an epiphany I had that related to private equity. And I pissed off a friend of mine so bad he never wanted to speak to me again. And it was because I had the epiphany that only myself and one other person that none of these people in private equity wanted to listen to were the only ones who could actually tangibly create anything real. And it pissed him off beyond belief so bad he never wanted to speak to me again. And somebody kind of laughed and go, wow, did you hit his nerve? You know, it's true. He's very proud of himself and do it, but he has to be able to work and manipulate money and play the games and shake the hands and kiss the babies and bullshit and talk and hold things back, because at the end of the day, he can't build anything. He can't lead. He can't create something. Nothing. And I see someone like, it doesn't matter if it's Netanyahu or virtually any other politician. What can they do at the end of the day? If you're a career politician, you're already probably useless to society. And you just figured out how to be a smooth talking leech. And, you know, when you have enough money being thrown at you from God knows where all over the place, you start thinking you're special when you're not. It's just so obvious and blatant. And the reason that I'm just so done with Republicans, Democrat, political party, all this is it's so obvious. And there's very little I can say, because it's over. I don't want to watch this stupid game anymore. I don't want to play your stupid game. You know, the United States government is just dragging everybody down. They're just smacking us around like we all have battered wife syndrome or something like this, with horrible relations with nasty little governments that are just blatantly committing genocide in front of the world's eyes and lying to everybody's face and manipulating, and like, you can't do anything about it. I'm like, well, the thing is, we all actually can. We just can't talk about it. And
you're not allowed to talk about
it. The world. No, I know.
Yeah.
No, I know. And then what I see happening is, with all the tech bros, as you know, they're trying to slip that in the big, beautiful bill about unregulated AI for 10 years. And then Peter Thiel, who used to be a CIA informant or agent in the past, who's got Palantir to create a giant database on every American in every way, shape, and form, with Doge being the perfect to get all the information out of the government to do that. And then Donald Trump standing around like he's so bright, he cares about everybody else. Best I can figure is let's consider old Trumpy to be a net good at the moment for this sake. Okay, well, he's probably thinking, well, we can't stop China from building AI and going crazy, so we got to be unregulated because we're in this hypothetical, crazy, dangerous Russian roulette Cold War game of AI. But all he's done is literally just hand any shred of power or value of the United States government for the people to the tech bros and AI. It's truly insane what's happening. Absolutely beyond insane. To where, and I hate to say this because I don't want it at all, I'm like, damn, are we at a point in history where the only thing that'll save the people or civilization or humanity is like anarchy, civil wars, or wars, because it has to break down all these governments? It's off the rails and it's out of control. And what am I supposed to do? There's people like, oh, shut up, rich guys, just drive around your sports car and be happy. Why don't you shut the fuck up? Do you not look around and see how ruined we're all going to be? I don't care to sit around and look at nice things. We're all going to fail and be destitute tomorrow, right now. So I'm like, let's all fight right now, now.
So the point that you make is that these guys they think that somewhere along the line they're at the top of the food chain, and that they represent some sort of usefulness to those that are in power, that they'll be left with all of the provisions. And what they don't realize is that they're actually working for the devil itself, and that they too will be thrown off the ship. And it's a story, it's a tale as old as time. I mean, when in the fall of Rome, everyone that worked for the Roman Empire they were all murdered, all of them. I mean, go back and look at it. They just right. The Ottoman Empire, same
It's like
thing.
high level useful idiots, right? They're the first ones to go
because the people in the society said, as soon as it turned out that the society had a list. Judges were the first one to be executed. The same thing happened here. Tarred and feathered. We go back and look at time of the corruption. They just kept a list, and they just went. And we're talking about societal downfalls and what's happening right now. The fact that Powell's propping up interest rates currently. There's interest rates are being propped up to basically hurt our economy and hurt our community because we can't get access to it. It's basically choking off the ability for people to make a living, right? Or
it's
to have
just
opportunity.
You know what it is? Okay, and this will get me in trouble because I don't mean anything of it connected with anybody.
It won't get you in trouble.
Everything going on is just a higher scale modern version of coin clipping. Eventually, there's no coin left. That's everything that's going on. It's just one way to rob everything else. The stock market, manipulate everybody. What percentage of wealth do the United States people actually even have anymore? It's all just a game to ruin us in the end. And eventually, when that game plays out, there's only a few things that are going to happen in world history. That game is played pretty far out right now.
Yeah. So then how do you square that hole? One of the things that amazes me is that there are a few people that control all the rubles, all the investments, all the everything. And where they don't control the rubles, they control who gets access to it. So in the first part, I was talking about how Alex Jones got on and said that, Ed Martin said, here are a few things that are about to happen. Longtime confidant and henchman over at the DOJ, good henchman, by the way, not bad. And that there's some big arrests and big kind of landscape changes that are coming. And then talked about Kyle Seraphin. Now, have you met Kyle Seraphin yet? You need to get on with Kyle. You'll love the guy. FBI whistleblower. He's amazing. He's an amazing dude. Now he puts up with zero shit, right? And
yeah, you mentioned that to me in the past.
Yeah, he has the patience of he has no patience for stupid, none. Like I don't have any patience for stupid. I can walk away from it. He won't. He will ridicule someone into obscurity, and it's fun to watch. But Alex Jones said something about Kyle Seraphin because Kyle basically has been going after Kash Patel, Kardashian Patel, and Dan Bongino and this like little group of people and the Steve Bannons.
Those guys aren't holding themselves very well.
No, they're paper tigers, man. These people are not. They're not real people. Like they're not real people. They're showing themselves to be the weak people that they are.
You know how Trump always says it's like we got these guys from Central Casting. Like he loves to tell the story about how they landed Air Force One with all the lights off in the middle of the desert to what Christmas with all the troops out in the Middle East somewhere. And he says these pilots are so handsome, like we got them from Central Casting. He said that a number of times. It's telling of how he looks at things.
And
think about it.
He's right. I mean he's right. But more importantly, it shows the innate weakness of people that rise up, and in large part. Alex Jones says, well, then I got Kyle Seraphin on here. And he's telling me things, and I'm over here going, I just gotta hear it. Because I know that somebody called Alex Jones and said, don't have Kyle Seraphin on your show anymore. He's been attacking us, so you got to stop putting him on there. I know for a fact, based upon the condition of Alex Jones and what he said and how he said it, that he was justifying why he put Kyle Seraphin on his show. You don't have to justify why you put Kyle Seraphin on your show. Kyle Seraphin's a smart motherfucker. That's why you put him on your show. You put him on your show because he actually understands the condition of man and that he can look at it and go, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And he calls it out. And people trust him because he doesn't give up his sources on any side. But here, even Alex Jones is subjected to these weak ass people who call him up and say, "Oh, you're not allowed to talk to Joe Altman. You're not allowed to talk to Kyle Seraphin. If you do, these guys, you just can't. You can't help these guys." That's the type of bullshit that happens. Right?
It's just stupid. I mean, I who knows where it'll be for me? I'm sure in different places in my life I've had that sort of thing happen. But I'll talk anywhere. Why not? If you can't hold your own in a conservative show, a liberal show, a middle of the road show, anything, then who are you really? I'll go on any show. I'll talk to anybody. And if somebody has a problem with that, don't screw yourself. How weak are you? You can't talk to people?
So James was just on, and I did a lot of research on James first. So I had to ping him on APAC. He's like, "Well, I did grow up Jewish," and I was like,
"So."
But it doesn't. I wasn't attacking him. I was attacking APAC, and the fact that these people they're hiding. He's like, "I think they do it out in plain sight." I was like, "Nope, nope, nope, and nope."
Basically, nobody's attacking Jews in the United States. It's just Zionists and Israel's stupid actions. Okay, and APAC, and just the nature of this. It's technicalities. And I tell you, this is the beautiful thing about everything going on right now with Israel and everything surrounding it. So we had to deal with the division of black and white and the Ferguson riots and George Floyd and all that stuff. Okay, we got through that. We had to deal with all the trans-related stuff and LGBTQ+. Okay, we got through that. I feel like Israel and Zionism is the final boss of America coming together. Because right now, the only thing that the majority of Americans agree on right now is this Israel crap is not good over there right now. And that has nothing to do with people's religion in the States. So the little bit of hope I have is if we get through this and we're not ruined with like the laws being passed that'll basically ruin everybody's lives if you criticize the nation of Israel or anything pertaining to it, is, gosh, the United States might actually get kind of to a cool place again, socially. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But if we don't get to, so here's my issue. How do I not stand on the side of the evil people while not standing on the side of the evil people? It's like having to pick the difference between Baal and the devil. Like, it's all the same. Because you got everyone that's standing up, these little radical Trantifa, whatever you want to call it, things.
I don't know.
They're like, "Free Palestine," and I'm like, I can't stand with those clowns. And then you go to the other side, and you have them like, "Kill all the Gathians," and I'm like, can't stand on that side either. Well, holy shit, where am I stand? I'm standing right in the middle, going, "Listen, y'all stop killing each other, and you guys need a psychologist, and you need Jesus over there. You Jewish people, you need a little Jesus in your life. Everything will be okay."
I don't worry about
get trouble.
Why can't you say that?
I got kicked off of YouTube. Hey, when did we get kicked off of YouTube? Last week? Yeah, we got kicked off YouTube last week.
Oh, how so?
No idea. It said that I promoted violence.
You're banned or suspended?
I got suspended for a week.
Oh, okay.
I got a strike. I'm thinking, how'd I get a strike? I don't know. I don't think I said anything other than.
I have noticed something as it pertains to Christians, which it's totally okay to criticize Christians now, right?
Absolutely.
But this is constructive criticism. So I have noticed two, what I consider in a sense failings. One are the people that will have no part and take no voice. They won't stand up. They leave it to God. Okay, that's fine. If you have full faith and you believe 100% in God, that's great. However, it's my opinion, based upon basic logic of life and all of the beautiful things of creation, that if you don't stand for what's right in your own values while you're here, God's going to think you were the little kid that didn't do your home chores when they got home. I don't think that's noble. I don't think that's noble. God's not going to have any use for you.
He's not going to have a use for you.
I think that's one missing foible or that's one problem of logic. You don't get a free pass to do nothing just and hope God solves it for you. Like, we're all here to solve. God's not going to clean your house. Okay. God's not going to wash your car and change your oil. Okay. You can't just like, oh, well, I'm just not going to take care of my car, or my family, or be there for my kids because it'll be okay in the end for God. I know that's hyperbolic, but it's the same thing. The other thing that I have to throw out there, I have noticed with Christians talking about it, one of my friends said something, he posted something, I am open to any kind of criticism, no matter how blunt or whatever it feels like. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted, buddy. I'm like, let me think how I want to say this, because I don't want to say everything. I'm trying to pinpoint it. Many of the circles and people with whom you hang out are the most manipulative, horrible, and evil people on earth. And you should think hard about how you interact with all of them do it. Well, his response was one, again, of deflection for the sake of God. It's like, well, I just try not to judge and let God assume in the end. I'm like,
so
that doesn't hold up. Because let's say you hang out with just murderers and cons and felons and everything like that. Well, you know that, or you're stupid. Yeah. I don't think you're stupid. So why are you hanging around in a den of thieves? Also something I don't think that God would like from a Christian. So those are two things where I think Christians go wrong, and they need to self-assess and decide if it's time for them to get together, lead, stand up for something, hold up for values. Because I can't speak for the big man upstairs, but I think that's pretty damn lame.
No, I would agree with you, and I think that this life is a test. Casey, this life is a test, and this might get me kicked off of YouTube, because the next thing I'm going to talk about right now.
We're both going to have to be careful this one.
Tom Androdrovich. He was the one that tried to piddle a child in Las Vegas.
Oh, this was the person.
Yeah, go ahead and put this up. Put up that tweet if you would. With us. There we go. So this is one of the individuals, Tom Artyom Alexandrovich. He is on the Prime Minister's national security team.
Of Israel, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Israel has laws that basically you can just bounce there, and it none of that stuff counts. So he got a free pass, right?
And the number of pedophiles that are in Israel is absolutely astronomical.
Have you looked up to see the percentage and difference to the national average in the United States or in a big metropolitan area here?
Oh yeah,
because it could be a lot, but we got a lot here.
Did you put it through Grok? Because if you did,
is this that kind of pattern recognition that's going to get us all in trouble?
This is. But my point is that there's a lot of really good people in Israel, by the way. A lot.
Sure.
There's a lot of good people.
They should leave.
I'm sorry?
I said they should leave.
Yeah. And well, I would venture to say that that Israel collapsed, their government collapsed 5 times in 8 years for a reason. That people
I've heard that mentioned. I don't know enough about it.
But this is just as much of a reflection of the U.S. system as it is the Israeli system, because this guy should have never been allowed to leave the country. He should never have been allowed to leave the country. He should have. We want to hold people accountable here when we want to hold them accountable, but we want to let people go.
No, we don't.
What
is the we? All I see are criminals getting away with whatever they want. All I see is them attacking the easy thing. You see the most recent one?
In prison, bro. Tina Peters is in prison. She got put there.
Who's that?
She's the one that uncovered she's where the Mesa County got into Dominion machines, and we wrote 3 reports on it. I didn't write it, but 3 reports.
Oh, they put her in jail somehow?
9.5 years.
What technicality did they get her on?
On influencing a public official, something that's only been charged probably 3 times in the last 30 years. 9.5 years.
Okay, can I just say it? The United States doesn't have a legal system anymore.
No, it's absolute dog shit.
There's no legal system. They just set you up for whatever they wanted at whatever given time. We have a giant theater of lies with social media and everything else. So it's just a giant setup. They're going to take anybody out for any time, for anything. I don't trust in it. Hell, I learned this years ago when I was a much younger man in my 20s. I did realize this is true. You drive a fancy exotic car, you about park wherever you want. And then I started realizing, I'm like, damn, if you got money and you do things a certain way, you actually can, you know, it sort of doesn't apply the same way in some ways. And now I'm as an older person, shoot, the nature of lawfare, anybody normal, all they can do is keep quiet and hope they don't draw anybody's negative attention. I have zero trust in the government at all anymore. None.
You don't trust the judges? What's wrong with you? I don't.
Shut up! Come on. Which one? A Soros one or a regular one? Like, I'm sorry, I just don't. And that's not a me problem. That's a them problem.
Yeah.
I just don't.
So how do you square that? How do you square? Look, the judge in the case.
We're done. I'm sorry.
What does that mean?
I just think the United States is basically done.
Okay.
This is not repairable anymore at this point. We're not going back. I did that video, a week or so ago with Grok admitting, and I could have dug deeper, but Grok admitted that one billionaire has more power to influence the United States government than 10 million registered voters. There's 180 million registered voters in the United States. That represents the entirety of our population. There's,
you said this, how many?
Yeah.
A couple hundred billionaires?
We have, what was it, 9? I can't remember right now off the top of my head. Yeah, there's a few hundred. The billionaires in the United States alone have 50 times more power to influence the United States government than we, the effing people, period. So you're telling me that we still have a government that's by the people, for the people? Oh, give me a fucking break. Give me a break.
Well,
we're just run by criminals. It's just a criminal organization. It's a theater. It's a theater. That's the conclusion I've come to. And if somebody has a problem with that, well, look around. That's what I've gotten over observing the outside world for years.
So in this case that I'm not even a party to, it's Eric Coomer versus Clay Clark. I went on Scott McKay's on Friday or Sunday, yesterday. I went on his show and we were talking about Clay Clark, and he's like, yeah, I heard he had to pay a $30 million settlement. I was like, bullshit. $30 million, my ass. He didn't have to pay $30 million. He's lying. He's lying. And so, but in that case, I didn't give up the Antifa kid, and I didn't give up anyone that gave me access to social accounts, because look what they did to me. Right? So why would I give up somebody else? Why would I have means, I should say. I have means, and they don't. So they're going to do, what are they going to do? Kill them, ridicule them, make them so they can't get a job doing anything. And the judge fined me $90,000 for legal fees and for not giving up those people, even though the law says I don't have to. Right? And so I'm in front of the judge, and the judge in his settlement or in his brief said it is well known Mr. Altman's disdain for the judiciary. And I'm like, you little faggots deserve it. You little faggots literally have hurt more people in this country and destroyed communities with your bullshit. Nobody trusts judges. I went to dinner with a couple of attorney friends, and they're both married. And she says, this is just a few days ago, she goes, Joe, people walk into my office, they have a slam dunk case. And I'm like, listen, she goes, the first 15 years of my career, there was a semblance of justice. She says, you can't trust that anything will be done right by a judge. She goes, that's how bad it is. All the good attorneys out there are like, it's not a system that works anymore. It's a lawless system. And so here we are. You know, what you said is absolutely true. But Casey, then what do? We just start burning down their freaking houses? And I'm not saying we burn down their houses. I'm just saying, are we at that point where we recognize that we don't have a legal society? I mean, Trump says we're law-abiding, that we're the law-abiding people. Well, how good?
Everybody needs to get to the point of the same realization that we have quickly.
Yeah.
Period.
I just frankly, I want to run business and do business, but you can't even do that because then they find a way to screw with your business.
Look at me. I spent the last decade plus just doing things to help society. I built the Genius Garage nonprofit to pick up where the American educational system is effing garbage. The whole reason all these engineers are getting hired that come out of Genius Garage because they did Genius Garage, not because they're just another undergraduate degree. You know, these colleges that are sitting on billions, literally, some of them, a small college, like $1 billion endowment, they're doing jack squat with. They still have their hand out to the government or their donors. Any conservative person giving money to a university is an idiot. I'm sorry. They're just swindling you. It's absurd. It's just like every single industry of the United States. I don't care if it's medical, agriculture, food, pharma, university, military, the automobile industry, housing. It's all set up just to, it's just a parasite elite at this point. How is anybody going to get ahead or build anything else? So I built Genius Garage. I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from Trump. I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from Biden. You're going to get $5 to keep the lights on. I mean, and then meanwhile, I'm the kook because I disrupt the system. Well, the system's shit. None of my students even had to pay to be there. You know, not to mention that. So I do the Omega car. There's no support to build any kind of invention or better thing for
tell everyone
tomorrow.
that's listening, the Omega car. Tell me what the fuel economy was on that car. This is unbelievable. What's fuel economy?
Well, first time out testing, got 104.7 miles to gallon on diesel, just driving normally without all the aerodynamic fairness on and tuning. Like first time out of the box, stop signs and turns, all that jazz.
Horsepower.
Estimating a little less than 200, but it's probably making 300 foot-pounds of torque or more. You know, you hit it. But here's the thing: 0 to 60 is the same as a Tesla Model 3 or Corvette Grand Sport. C7 beats my Dodge Viper. And I did the math, and it's got a lower carbon footprint per mile on straight diesel than an EV does per mile when charged at home on its national average. Not to mention the fact that my concept is far lower energy, so it has a massively lower carbon footprint to manufacture. And I built it because Obama lied to everybody back in 2008, right? And it pissed me off, and I was tired of the lies. And then the left, that's all they care about is the environment, doing this for the people and make it affordable. There's nothing for anything like that from the left. The left should love me. I've been mentoring people to not get paid to help them get jobs. Black, white, Asian, gay, straight, trans, literally everything, helping them get awesome jobs out of the goodness of my heart. Zero support. I built this recyclable concept car because I'm 100 miles to the gallon that's fast, has a lower carbon footprint than an EV. Zero support from the left. There's zero support from the right. It's just a big theater stage play to sap everybody dry. And they just want their stupid talking points to get everybody running around pretending they care. They're not. None of these damn politicians can do a damn thing. They're just ruining all of us. And I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of all of this because I've done nothing my whole life but to better the world around me and like people and the nation and invention. And there's no support for anything. Nothing. Angel donors, there's plenty of wealthy guys out there. I'll give you an example. I got so pissed. I'm going on a rant, but it's a good one. I hope you like it.
Give me some, man. I'm like,
okay,
I'm sitting here like, it sounds like me.
Yeah, no, exotic car people watching, you're going to get it right now because that's all I've ever been. I've got exotic cars. But you that buy a new car, that you don't mind losing $100,000 or $200,000 to depreciation. You will burn $200,000 to depreciation for fashion because it makes you feel good to get a new Ferrari that depreciates. Not only are you a fiscal idiot, like, do this, buy a vintage Ferrari that'll actually appreciate or something cool like that, and then take the money you lose to depreciation and actually give it to somebody doing something like me so we can have a better tomorrow for little ones. I'm yelling at stupid people, sweetie. I'm doing what's called ranting. Can you say rant? Rant?
Hi.
You should go back upstairs with mom.
You gonna say hi?
Hi. He can't hear you, but he's saying hi to you.
Hi.
Okay, so that's my rant. No, I'm tired of it all. I am. Like, I've done nothing but create and build and do. And the amount of people do anything, and that's the other thing that ticks me off about the Christians. Oh, just leave it to God. No, do it now. Support now. Help people. Get behind it. Make it happen. Don't tell me you can't. No excuses. What are you doing? Don't do that. Am I yelling too much? You can't hear them?
Yeah, she came downstairs. She was like, you know what? I'm going to go downstairs and make sure Pop's okay.
I got to tone this down. Why is my daddy yelling?
Yes. What'd I do? I didn't do anything.
Talk to me. You, Pop.
You gonna say, yeah, say hi.
Does mom know you're down here? Hey, Taylor. She's in the podcast right now. And she's very cute. Dinner is ready. That's okay, sweetie. Will you go up and see Mama? Okay. So we have a cute stowaway here for our podcast. Joe, bring it home. What you got? What are you thinking here?
So I told you what we needed to do, what we had to get accomplished. I was very clear.
Yes.
And me and many people have talked about this, and that is fraternity. And we have to build a fraternity where we can get it done without those people, where we build a fraternity of very strong people to get it done. And in the sense we've talked last time, and I've had a conversation with a few other people, that fraternity that I'm talking about as far as getting it done involves the public. So you've decided you're going to sell watches and do all. She's having fun.
We need to go with Mama, please.
Sell
Taylor,
watches.
can you come and get her, please? Yeah, selling watches. Yeah, selling watches. It's something I have.
She's like, no, I'm staying right here.
I love you, puppy. Will you please go upstairs with Mom? Okay. Wait. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. You can stay, Alice. You can stay. Okay. God, she just wants to hang out. So selling watches. What do we do under our own control to better the future in our own lives? We have to take care of the base before we can take care of anybody else, right?
Yeah. So this is where I got into, and I was playing golf with my friend on Saturday, and I said, "Listen, we're building a fraternity. What do you think of it?" He's like, I'm in. And these are guys that I've done business with for a long time, and we've supported each other. So I was like, "Hey, look, I want to go buy this company," and they went, "Okay, well, I'll play." And so what I said to Chris, and what I said to Dale, what I said to Kyle, when I've said to these other guys that are a part of my sphere, I go, listen, we have to build a fraternity, and we have to find things that we want to actually support, that we can get behind, that we can build a model on, because we're all the same type of people. We don't, we're not out. It's not a get rich quick scheme for us, right? It's built on something that is sustainable. We're even willing to give up today to have something worth something tomorrow, right? To have something worth value tomorrow, because we can't spend it anyway, right? Put $20 million in the bank, you're not going to spend it. It's fun to look at, but you're not going to spend it. And so, but also bringing people along for the ride and saying, okay, we're going to build something that has value. We're going to say, all right, listen, you have the Genius Garage. Here's what you're doing with it. Here's the nonprofit. That should have some sort of stair step into putting these people into a place. And, universities, by the way, do this all the time. MIT has created more millionaires and billionaires by creating projects and things, and then creating a company, then funding that company into then coming back and giving back to MIT. So it's all this like feeder program.
And on that note, I've been giving serious consideration to Genius Garage changing a bit to be similar to what I've heard Bell Labs was a long time ago, where the thing of what I do with the race cars and airplane building is kind of like the, shall we say, military basic for engineers, and that's good and keep it. But I also think it should be a place that can foster innovation, because I'm finding so many genuine inventors and builders that don't have a place to put the effort, time, and just a little bit of resources into something that can be huge, because it's not monetarily viable immediately for them. And we've got nothing fostering the future like that anymore.
Yeah, so this is where I get into. So I made a commitment to my friends, and I'll repeat that commitment here. I told Chris I'm willing to give up my companies. I'll give them up. I'll take my companies and I'll just put them into the pot, and we'll kind of gather up a bunch of stuff, figure out how we can monetize all the things that we're doing, and I'll just give it up. But it has to grow, and the commitment has to be to grow into a place where it does a greater good. That it can never lose. It has to have a poison pill, right? It has to be something that says you can't use it for bad.
Prime directive.
And that everyone you can't take more meat off the bone than you should. That it grows, it becomes worth something, everyone shares it, people that work on it inside the company. Now, inside my companies, I already have a set aside where if we ever sell one of our companies, 10% goes to the people in the company. They split it. And it's not an equity deal. It's just that if you were here and you happen to be here when we sold it, God bless you. Now, I've sold a couple companies, And people have walked away with a lot of money. But I do think that we have to stop relying on people like BlackRocks and the Vanguards. And we got to build our own BlackRock and Vanguard. We got to build our own fraternity. And here's how I know it's possible, Casey. I'm going to tell you how I know it's possible. And I know you got to eat dinner and you got to take care of your family. But here's how I know it's possible. In 2020. Well, 2021? Yeah, it was 2021. I think it was February or March. I said, we're going to build at the border. The border was getting overrun. There were stories about illegals doing horrendous things to people. And I was like, let's just build a Patriot Ranch. So a guy named Mike came on the show and he's like, I got this ranch. It's like 800 acres or something. It's right on the border. It's right on the river. And I was like, okay. So I flew down there, looked at it. I got on my podcast and I was like, all right, the deal for this, I believe it was like $2 million, $2.2 million to buy this. And it had, I said, we'll have the Patriot Palooza. Which make it so that everybody that buys, you get a part of it and then you buy it. I raised $1.6 million in 4 days, 5 days, selling each one of the stocks and each one of the stocks for $1,776. I did it in increments. You could buy up to 3 units. And so within a week, we had raised almost all the money. I figured I'd just put the rest in, it'll be fine. And then we found out the place had anthrax. So I refunded all of the money. Yeah, so it was in this thing called the Triangle. We almost got taken. So the Triangle is this area where anthrax naturally exists and thrives in the area, so it kills off all the animals.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know it existed either until we went to go do. I said, well, we should probably just check into this before we buy it, and I did. So I returned everyone's money. Like everyone got all their money back. Like sent it back, and I think we probably should have just we should have just stayed and bought it, because the disappointment that everyone wasn't involved in a part of something great. I mean, keep in mind what you'd have to do in order to raise it by $2,000, $1,776, in order to raise almost $2 million in $1,776 increments. It's a lot. It's a lot of people, right? The disappointment was I let everyone decide. Do you want me to just figure something else out, or do you want me to give it back? And ultimately, everyone was like, yeah, do what you want with it. So I just sent it all back because I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to hold on to this money. I'm going to send it back to you. So there's a lot of people out there that want to be a part of something that is a fraternity. There is a Gideon 300. There is. And they all feel the same way. They all feel that the judges are scumbags. They're trash, rotted trash. That people like Vanguard have victimized people in our community for a long time. And that our politicians, in large part, are a bunch of weak people surrounded by weak people, except for a few cases where you have President Trump he's a legitimate person. He's a legitimate character. But then you have Kardashian Patel. Yeah. Anyway, so that's
6 years ago, houses were half as much as they are now. That didn't make everybody with a house richer. That made the entire nation poorer. That was stolen from us. That's what that is. And done in a way to make people like, oh, I guess it's okay. No, it's not.
And then they made it worth more. You taxed more.
Isn't that fun?
You still don't own it. And at the end of the day, when the market crashes, you'll still have to pay the higher tax at the higher rate. And then they may give you a little bit back over the next couple of years after that. But in the meantime, you will see a rise towards foreclosures and people taking their properties, and you can see it. I mean, you can
It's just a
feel it
cycle.
right now.
It's the oldest time. Oldest time.
Anyway, I don't want you to be distracted.
I like where you're going with this, though. Where you're going with this, though. I've had similar thoughts in regard to many things with that. Mine always end up relating to how can I bring the brightest people together in a constructive place to foster young people and their growth and mindset. So I've got idea for better schools and universities. Frankly, are quicker, but just frankly better. I could go into it. Maybe it'd be good for another show. But yeah, and there's nowhere to build any new innovation anymore. We're all out there in this corporate prison farm I talk about.
We can break the chains. We can break the chains. But if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, if we don't get to a place where the people have a voice, I don't think we have any hope. And if we stop thinking that there's one greater problem than that, there isn't. There's no greater problem than the corruption we face today.
That is important. And the other thing that's so terrifying is the nature of media and how people can actually get information. One, they all have to be able to see and think for themselves. It's astonishing that mainstream media still exists. It's only propaganda for older generations that still watch it, period. All of it. And it concerns me because I had another, maybe you only have like one or two in your life, but a night where you just wake up with like a thought in the middle of the night. Kind of hit me like that during the day of basically the only two parties that we have, because I start looking at hypotheticals coming up and I'm like, God, it is a horrible uniparty back and forth, but we've got to be at a point where others, honestly, man, it's just bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. And I'm not crazy. Like, I'm on here ranting, okay? And people can say I'm whatever you want to say I am, but I'm a guy that's worked my ass off to try to better world and community and things around me, and have family that's done that. And I've watched nothing but the decline of the American people and the American nation and the American culture. And you want to know where all of our problems come from? Washington, our government. It's shit. They're the ones ruining our lives. Think of a time that it was better than it is now. You know what's different about the people, us, and looking around? Not a goddamn thing. We actually have it better. We could do more. It's the government. It's politicians. It's the stymied, manipulated nature of our law that's done it. The United States was a perfect experiment, but there are things that forefathers could not have thought of relating to what's going on. Just the power and nature of AI and programming. My God, the cell phones are insidious, addictive programming devices. Everyone's addicted to cell phones. Nobody talks about that. Horrible addictions. Horribly. I mean, heck, I even fight it because by virtue of me being on here more than that. But I grew up at least before the internet to remember what that was like. And I'm young enough to understand technology and to see what's going on and to know how all these things work. There's not many people that are fortunate enough, fortunate, to be able to be in that position. And it's bad. And I know the things that I say are like right on the edge of revolutionary, but I'm going to say this also. We're told certain narratives as we grow up, I remember they told me, well, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492 because everybody thought the world was flat before then. Well, that's bullshit. We all knew that they knew the world was round way before that.
Way before.
The Civil War was only about slavery. Yeah, no, it's like, what are the only tropes about World War II? Nobody even knows anything about that or the First World War. Let's go back farther. But you know what we all know about the United States? Britain sucked. It was totalitarian dictatorship control. We were overly taxed, and there was taxation without representation. We wouldn't take it anymore.
And it was the judges. It was the judges. Every 400 years, we string up judges. And I'm not saying that we do that in this case, but we've got to get to the bottom of the corruption that has allowed for the manipulation and the persecution of Americans by really bad people.
The government doesn't fear the people.
The
government does not fear the people. And anybody who can actually create and better the society does not go into government. In fact, I spoke with somebody a while back when people wanted me to run for Congress because we've got the longest running congresswoman in my district. This is a woman that's been in 42 years, longer than Marcy Kaptur's here. And they're like, we need a Republican to knock her out. I thought about it. I remember one guy who was a fundraiser looked at me and goes, "You're too smart to run for office." And he literally meant it. And it kind of took me aback back then. But I get why he said that. But the shame of it is, by nature of who ends up in politics and government, it's the ones that are going to be the puppets and say and do whatever for the people that have money, or it's going to be the ones that they don't really believe in anything and do anything. They believe in do anything at whoever's paying it. I mean, look at Ted Cruz. I mean, you should just have like an APAC sponsorship and wear his driver's suit every time he goes on like that. It's just disgusting. At least people can see that kind of thing now. But it's disastrous. So I refuse to have anybody get on my case if things I say sound a little too close to revolutionary. Well, no shit. That's where we're at.
Yeah, what's important for people to understand right now that are listening, it's really simple. If it made you uncomfortable, if this conversation made you uncomfortable, then it was truthful.
Hi, Pop.
It was truthful.
Puppy,
And
come here.
that's the big thing, is that we're not in a place right now where, people are like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I want decorum.
I know.
I'm
Alice,
done
come
with
here. I agree. Well, there's a certain amount of it, but and see, that's the bad thing now, because, if we talk a little bit too seriously about the times now in relation to history and where things actually are, you're right on the edge. We're going to get you for sedition laws or sparking violence or something like that. Y'all know what the 4th of July is about? You know what this whole country was founded on? You know what there are more of in this country than people?
Guns.
Don't hate me for being American. What'd you expect?
That leads me down the path of everyone needs to go buy some ammo and guns. Sorry, lots of ammo. Ammo and bullets and gold. That's it. And silver. Make sure you have a bunch of it.
Are you silly? Do you want me to come to dinner?
Say
okay.
Do you want to say hi? You want to say hi?
I probably better get out of here because I'll just get in trouble talking.
Yeah, we're at the end of it. Well, I'll have you on again. It was great to have you on. We'll continue to work this problem. I'm going to get you and Kyle connected.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
All right, sounds good. Casey, the car guy.
Kate Fox.
God bless you, brother.
That's me, baby. You'll find me. Thank you, Joe. Have a good day.
All right, you too. So we'll put up all the stuff of how you can find Casey, but he's, the one thing I can say is he's just like me. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care about, what the truth is going to bring, what the consequences are. He's already faced the consequences. And he went out and did a bunch of things to help people. And that's the same, that formula is the same formula. You don't have any patience for stupid. You don't want to, you're a strong individual, but you just haven't learned to bite your tongue. I don't want to bite my tongue. He doesn't want to bite his tongue. We don't want to bite our tongue while we watch the rest of our society suffer. We don't want our children to go through it. Frankly, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by God, because that really is what it comes down to. So let's see what kind of comments you got going on right here. We live under war law. Man, FM. I've been hating on the government for years, all thanks to President Trump and some other sources. Okay. So hating on the government. The government is not some inanimate object. It's really important for you to understand that there are people that deserve the ire of the people. And what they've done is they've used the media to say, this person's bad or this person's bad. The government is not bad. The people in it are rotted to the core. And they can hide behind some honor that doesn't exist. There's no honor in the judiciary. There's no honor at all. When is the last time that something's been done that went to the betterment of the people? Any people, left, right, it doesn't matter, any. Tell me of it. Do we want to talk about the Affordable Care Act? That's how it's going to give poor people access to health care? Well, it didn't. It raised health care by nearly 2,000% since it was passed. And you could talk about making homes affordable. In 2000, 41% of people in the year 2000, maybe it was 1997, maybe. It was nearly half of the people before the age of 30 were able to buy a home. Now, under the age of 30, they can buy a home in the United States is at 12%. They've destroyed our country. I don't give a shit about Russiagate. I don't think you do either. I don't actually give a shit about much of this kabuki theater that's happening when it relates to only solving crimes or problems related to one person. See, the Biden administration did the same thing. I want the people to get their pound of flesh. I want you to get rid of the machines. I want you to get rid of mail-in ballots. I want you to restore order. I want you to have people tried for treason. That would make me happy, because that would work, and get rid of judges. Impeach massive numbers of judges, arrest people in politics, strip out all of the mechanisms that allow for them to hide and to do harmful things to the people in their community. Do that. Do that. DOR, yeah, you're right. You deal with government. You understand. I know you understand. I wasn't questioning you understanding. But I do want you to know that we are the useful idiots. They get to take from us what is not theirs. And I want women to stop behaving like hookers. It was Chris. Okay. Now, the young me would say to you, Chris, that's not fair. The after Jesus one would tell you, that's absolutely right. I'm just being funny. Just cracking a joke. Just leave me alone, cracking a joke. Jay Altman, you can be happy? Happy with what? I'm still happy. I'm super happy, actually. I'm happy knowing that I'm going to have to make some hard decisions over the next couple of years, if not the next couple of months. That feckless cowards don't care about me, and they're not as loyal to me as I've been to them. I get it. You have paper tigers that frankly don't give a shit about the strong people. They want them to suffer. This is why Marcus Aurelius, and you could go through the history books, and these folklore heroes all end up feeding their demise. The William Wallaces of the world that get disemboweled and killed. All while the weak people say to them, just ask for mercy. Just ask for mercy. I don't want mercy. I want justice. And I'll be the first to tell you, I want blood. And it doesn't mean that I want vengeance. I want blood. I want the people that have done an immense amount of harm to my community and hurt my brothers and sisters, I want them to pay. I want some of those people to pay with their lives as they took the lives of others. I want accountability to rule the day, and I want to be able to restore order to our country. I want to doge our states and our federal government. I want to stop the kabuki theater and stop thinking that somewhere along the line, it's okay to lie to your citizenry. It's not. I want to repeal the Smith Modernization Act of 2012. I want to push news sites to be truthful. I want to prosecute judges for bad decisions when they have rained down and created harmful effects on American citizens at all levels. I want to make it inexpensive in order for you to get justice inside the legal system, and take away the ability for judges and attorneys to make it unachievable to get to the place where you can have justice. That's what I want. Now, will I get it? I mean, we're in a lawless society. Yeah, Judge Barrett needs to fry. Judge Barrett needs to go to prison. But see, Judge Barrett knows. Judge Barrett probably has mental illness in a way that you can't even describe, because he knows he's already had to sell his soul. There's nothing left there but an empty shell. And go try to have a conversation with that guy. I promise you that as you're trying to have a conversation with Judge Barrett, it'll be impossible for him to look you straight in the eye. He would just act like he's on his high horse and say that I'm a judge, all while recognizing he is the pariah among us. Deathly afraid to get caught, kind of like Jenna Griswold and Jared Polis. These are people that think that they're above the law. Jeff says, tax on seed, tax on tractors, tax on the gas, tax on the harvest, tax on the sale of the harvest, tax on the factory. Finally, we get bread, and then we get taxed on the bread. Yeah. I've given up on the idea that singularly I'm going to be able to do anything. Through God, everything is possible. Without him, nothing is possible. And do I think we're going to get justice? I hope so. I was told we would. But I also recognize the other side, which is there's a lot of weak people, especially in our movement. A lot of nasty, weak people with stuff in their buys that say that they're a Christian MAGA. And then you see them talk. Like, I'll attack a leftist all day long. But these people will attack everybody. And when they stand up other paper tigers and act like this is some sort of mean girls club, I don't have any patience for it. And most of the time, I don't think you do either. Anyway, we got a lot of work to do. You had a few people that told us today. You had Casey, he's just over it. And then you have James, which has been writing about it for 5 decades. So maybe we get to the end. But in the meantime, we pray. In the meantime, we do what we have to do in order to make sure that we honor the people around us. Think about it this way. Think about the Battle of Normandy, but we're in our own soil. And the enemy is so great. And the only people that stand between us having justice and putting our hands on the throat of these people is our current leadership that has made some promises to us. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We will. Liberal tier creator said, please pray for my family today. So we're going to pray for them, pray us out. Remember, go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. You can pick us up on Rumble, Brady on Pilled Network, pilled.net, Facebook, X, you name it, we're there. Don't really have an idea of what that means, frankly, being in all these different places. If you like us, hit the share button. You are the ambassadors of truth. I do reruns 3 and 4 times tonight, and I'll do the reruns again over tomorrow before the show airs again. So you like what you hear? Just you can get us on the BEK network, some radio stations. We're pretty much everywhere. Yeah, let's pray it out. Father God, thank you for these guests. Thank you for truth. Thank you for letting us uncover and see what is right in front of us and still being okay. Thank you, Father, for giving us the ability to see it for what it is. Pull back the veil. And still being able to survive in that environment while we've worked the problem to resolve this evil that has just been so pervasive in our community, our country, and the world. Help us, Father, that we may honor you, stand up for truth, and may make some hard decisions to create accountability for those that have stolen so much from us. Father, I ask you to please look after, I don't actually know his name, liberal tier creator, who's asking you to pray for his family. And Father, I don't know what he's dealing with right now, but I just ask you to lift him up and his family up and protect them and lift the burden so they can make good decisions. Well, I also bring before you Dave Bear. Obviously, the cancer is back, 3rd time in less than a year and a half. So, Father, I just ask you to give Dave healing, to lift the burden off his family as he goes through and tries to work the problem to rid his body of this cancer that's just so pervasive and keeps coming back. Father, we just say thank you again, give you thanks for the blessings and the trials and the tribulation, everything that we go through. We're grateful for even the bad stuff, because it helps us appreciate where it is that we need to go and where we've been. I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, I'll see you guys. See what else you got. Fembenzenol. Yeah, I got that. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. It was a great Monday. We got to grow a bunch of great stuff tomorrow. I'm going to go back to eat my apples. And you keep praying that we can only go up from here, right? God bless you.